Joining me now to discuss is Turning Point USA contributor Morgonn McMichael. Morgonn, glad to have you with us tonight. This issue really took center stage after Facebook was exposed for downplaying Instagram's toxic effect on teens, showing that a third of teen girls who use the app feel bad about themselves. Right now, you have to be 13 to use most platforms. I have to say, I'm glad that social media didn't come out until I was in college. What's your thought on this? Should Congress regulate this, and what's the magic number, if so?
Being in Gen Z, I grew up in the age of technology and grew up on Instagram and all the social media platforms. And it's all too true, seeing all these young girls are just sucked into these platforms. Even guys, we see TikTok owned by China is even worse, I think, than Meta and Instagram. And I don't think there is a magic number. I do think Congress needs to add more regulations on the content that's being shown. I mean, we've even seen pornographic material on Instagram and Twitter that isn't accurately being censored, fake accounts, and it's even used for grooming children and reaching out to these underage kids for trafficking. So there are a lot of harms when it comes to social media, and I definitely think it needs to be regulated. I mean, personally, I wish I didn't even get on social media until I was 16 or 17, just seeing how harmful it can be.
Yeah, even at my age, well beyond that, I even take moments where I do a digital detox and get away from it, because it can be tough. And you see so many kids now, whether they're out to dinner with their family, their face is in their phone screen, and they're not paying attention to anything around them. But then you also have the issue, Morgonn, of depression that social media really brings about. And according to the CDC, suicide in 15 to 24-year-olds has increased by 87% for girls, 30% for boys over the past 20 years, which is coincidentally about how long ago social media started. Obviously correlation isn't grounds for causation here. What do you attribute this trend to, and what do you think we can do to reverse it?
Gen Z and millennials have been addicted to their phones ever since they started to come out back in the early 2000s. And I mean, we've seen even the effects of this with mental health, and how Gen Zers and millennials, when they're on their phones all day, they're lacking in social skills. And I think it even got worse over the pandemic. Over the past 2 years, you had everybody just locked in their houses, and just all they did was watch Netflix and be consumed by social media. And I think this is what they want to do on just a more global scale, of just being able to control Americans. Because if you look at it, we're on our phones, we're on technology all day, every day. And I mean, me too. I want to do a social media detox, because sometimes it's too much. And so I don't know.
I highly recommend it.
And I really don't know what to do. I think people just need to get off their phones and start living life. We've just seen social problems, even people, friends. It's hard.
It's so true, Morgonn. And, there's so much of social media, what's on there, it's highlights. And I want to point out quickly, we don't have much time left, but, these influencers on Instagram, they're no strangers to Photoshop or, having these plastic looking bodies. But not Martha Stewart, apparently. She had a latest Instagram post out with this selfie attached. She's 81 years old. She's claiming she's all natural, has had no work done. There's no filter on the photo or anything. But there's a lot of haters out there that say this photo is fake. What's your take on Martha Stewart's post? 81 years old right there.
There is absolutely no way that Martha Stewart has never had any work done. I know 25-year-olds who have more wrinkles than this 81-year-old woman. And I mean, it's quite sad that she's lying to her viewer base, because, I mean, I've seen even 22-year-olds starting to get Botox and fillers, and she definitely has work done. And if she hasn't, then I want to know who she goes to, because I could use some of that.
Right. Listen, hey, and no shame. I think a lot of people would appreciate her saying, yeah, I've had a couple tweaks here and there, versus I'm just beautiful. I woke up like this. But Morgonn McMichael, that's about all the time we have for this show. But thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Jen.